What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Just want to show you guys a double half snatch set I did a couple days ago, and I'm going to share some thoughts about kettlebell sport psychology and also about methodology, so how to train. And double half snatch here I did 10 minutes with double 20 kgs. This was my third session back to double half snatch, so basically just like a long session, and long in terms of duration of the set, so it was a 10-minute set, and just kind of to see where I'm at. And I knew I could get 100. Like in my mind I knew I was good for 100, but spoiler alert, I didn't do 100, I did 92 with another one after the timer, so almost 93. And why I didn't do 100 is basically because I was afraid. I started in the first minute at 10 reps per minute, and then I did I think 9 in the second minute, because the pace started like feeling uncomfortable. And then I went into cruising mode and did 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. And that's just kind of like the way it is sometimes. You are capable of more, but it's in your mind. Like oftentimes it's in your mind. And oftentimes the best strategy to get the most reps is to stick to your pace, start to finish. Yes, you can start a little bit slower and then accelerate towards the end, but like a uniform pace is usually the best strategy, because if you really coast through the set, it's really hard to make up for that in the end. And that's exactly what happened here. So I was like coasting throughout the middle part, like I should have done a little bit more. And then in the last minute I sprinted, but that wasn't enough to get me to 100. Now that's kind of like the psychology, and the question is, doesn't matter, because that was not a competition. That was a training set, right? And there is a lot of talk about rate of perceived effort, right? About like there are different models to gauge intensity. So we can talk about things like heart rate zones. That's stuff that's very, very popular in endurance training. Of course, also lactate. And a lot of people, especially in the West, try to apply that stuff to kettlebell sport. And I can tell you that the best lifters in the world, for the most part, as far as I know, aren't doing any of that. Like the Russians aren't doing any of that. So they have a very mechanistic, mathematical approach to programming. And they usually train very hard. So it's like every training session is hard, because there are like two ways you can think about programming in general for endurance training, right? You have like the more biologically focused way, where you might talk about training different energy systems and staying in heart rate zones and all of that stuff, where you look at what's actually happening inside the body, and you try to modulate what you're doing to get the result you're looking for, to get the adaptation you're looking for. And obviously that approach has value. And the other approach, like we see that in running as well, is a more mechanistic approach, or a more mathematical approach, where we say, okay, like your goal, for example, is to run pace X, right? So if you're doing intervals, you need to run like slightly faster than that. And we don't really care what's happening inside the body. We don't care how high your heart rate goes or what your lactate does. Like that's the pace you need to run, we're going to build the paces, and then we put all the pieces together. And neither approach is right or wrong, because they both work. And there is obviously going to be overlap. It's just like the lens you're looking through, right? And in terms of kettlebell sport, it's obviously very easy to think about pacing and make things approach things very mathematically, and that's why probably it's the preferred method, and also because the other methods aren't as practical. And when you look at things from a biological perspective, it actually makes a lot of sense. And I see a lot of I think a lot of the attempts were of making, as in the West, right, where kettlebell sport coaches, I see this all the time, they try to make stuff more sports sciencey, right, and think, oh, we need to do heart rate zones and we need to do base training. If you think about kettlebell sport, the duration is 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes. And what's 10 minutes? What intensity is that? That's VO2 max intensity. That's the exact intensity that elicits VO2 max, or that you can perform at VO2 max pace, right? So the training has to reflect that. And how do we train for VO2 max? We do that with intervals, and specifically longer intervals, right? We do 2, 3, 4 minute intervals. Anybody heard of the Norwegian 4x4, right? That's all the rage right now. And we do the same thing in kettlebell sport. We do longer sets, we do longer intervals, like 5 sets of 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. 4 sets of 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off, or maybe 3 sets of 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off. And when you're training VO2 max, the intensity has to be high. There's not much of a point to actually measure heart rate or whatever. So the approach makes sense no matter how you look at it. And yeah, that's kind of basically that was a huge tangent. Now the thing I wanted to get at is what I said in the beginning. Okay, I kind of sandbagged that 10-minute set, right? I didn't do as much as I could have done. And is that actually a problem? And I'd say in many cases, yes, it would be a problem, because a lot of, especially more beginners in kettlebell sport, they don't train hard enough. They are not at the level mentally where they even can push themselves that much. And the other thing is their technique isn't good enough to actually really challenge their cardiovascular system to a sufficient degree, because the grip is going to give out, the shoulders are going to give out, the triceps are going to get tired, something is going to get tired, so it's not going to be the heart. So in most cases, forget about all the stuff that the Western coaches some of them may tell you, reps in whatever, but you probably just need to train hard. That's what the most Russian coaches will tell you, right? But once you get to the level where you really, really are able to push yourself, it may actually be good to kind of sandbag, as I said, in training here and there. Because I remember this year, there were some sets where I pushed myself. I remember a 7-minute set with double 26 kilogram long cycle, where I pushed myself really to the absolute limit, and that set kind of took a lot out of me. And I think if I could have just done a little bit more, maybe I would have gotten most of the adaptation, but I wouldn't have caused as much fatigue, and would have recovered better, and the net benefit would have been higher But like in general, you want to try to train hard. You want to try to train hard, and that's because to get the adaptations you're looking for in terms of VO2 max, you need to push it. That's the unfortunate reality of it. It's kettlebell sport. It's not I don't know. It's not easy. It's not easy. Okay. And sometimes it may be good to like step back just a little bit. But in general, no point to sandbag your training too much. Like that's the number one mistake I see people doing. And in that case, like I was fine with it, but like I train a lot at the moment, and most of my training is also pretty hard. So yeah, it was kind of a rant, kind of all over the place, but I hope I made some sense, and see you guys next time.